We're live.
Okay, so Education Committee on February 10th, we're back after a break. And we're going to take, do a bill introduction, S-259, which will be with driver's ed. And we have with us the bill sponsor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I am Wendy Harrison. I represent the Wyndham District and happy to be here. When my children were small, focus on the kids, pediatrician told me that being a parent means that now your heart can walk around outside of your body. I think about that a lot. One of the most terrifying times for me as a parent was when my kids reached the age of driving. And that was a reasonable fear. Crashes are a major factor in early deaths. I'm sponsoring this bill with the intention to increase the availability of driver education and to help our kids be safer. In the Senate Transportation Committee last year, we heard that there are not enough teachers to provide driver's education to all Vermont high school students. We heard that a school in Vermont to certify driver's ed teachers had closed and that the New Hampshire school was not adequate. This bill came to me from AAA and it's based on a New Hampshire law. Vermont law currently requires that an approved driver education course be available to 15-year-old Vermont students who are enrolled in a public or independent high school. S-259 would allow that classroom portion of the training, not the behind the wheel training, to be online as well as in person. I am acutely aware of the harm to our children by social media and excessive time online. I'm also very aware, as I'm sure you are, of the anxiety that our kids are showing these past few years. So my support for this bill is based on an assumption that in-person training is preferred and that online would only be used when in-person is not available. Online is preferred to no instruction at all. That condition is not yet in the bill, and I would ask you to consider that addition if you take up the bill. If the bill goes to transportation, I will certainly advocate for that provision, and that's my intent. The challenge will be how to define when in-person is not available, because that's something that means different things to different folks. I recommend that the committee hear from both AAA and the Vermont Driver and Traffic Safety Education Association. So there is an association of driver education providers. And then as an aside, to ensure the education committee, I want to mention that other specialty schools have closed in the last few years. I just want you to be aware of this. We lost our only pharmacy school a few years ago and had a recent issue with commercial driver's license training, CDL training. I think that's better. Oh, it is better. I don't know if it's efficient yet. And then we also closed trade operations in prison. There was a wood shop that produced furniture for the state and provided trained individuals. So I just wanted to put that in your heads.
So wait, so what was the connection there?
Just that this is the Senate education and I'm not here that much.
Oh, you're okay.
Sorry.
Okay, you're feeling okay.
Yeah, I'm just letting it seems to be a pattern that these specialty schools are leaving. So I don't know what's up, but I thought if I mentioned it, you might see a pattern also.
So
It used to be that 1968 when I first got my driver's license. We had to take driver's education to get your license. And if you got a discount on your insurance, if you had driver's education.
Right. And you still get a discount on your insurance. Your parents do, which is really important. And Damien can double check if I'm saying this incorrectly, but if you're 18, you don't need driver's ed.
correct.
Which is, I understand, but the insurance benefit is helpful and motivating, especially for the parents.
So just back up a little bit. What this bill does.
What this bill does, it's a very concise bill. It's, if you're looking on page one, the, first provision, it just says the driver's education and training course made available to students may be an in-person course or an asynchronous, I was getting there.
Not at the same time.
Online course. So it doesn't say that the asynchronous online course is only available if it's the primary option or if there's barrier to doing in person. And then there's explanations following that about the standards that the course has to abide by, which seem very reasonable and makes sense. And there is data privacy in it, which is important. Appropriate measures to prevent unauthorized access to private information. And provide the metrics that you would want to make sure the student performed in the course. And then again, that's the course, that's the classroom course. And then the person would have to do the part, the behind the wheel in person, obviously.
So you are suggesting that we add to this a provision to the effect of that. If it's available in person, we must do the in person.
Yes, I very much believe that in person is preferable.
Yep.
So whatever mechanism you can add to make that preference a part of the process, I think would make it a better. So. And then the folks, the Vermont Driver and Traffic Safety Education Association, they've contacted me, and 3 or 4 folks have contacted me.
Will you help? So you have some people that you
Yes.
think we should have in.
And I
one of them.
okay, yeah, so we spoke last night.
Yes, we did.
So
Yes.
will you, maybe you and Daphne communicate?
Sure.
About further tests with it,
Yes.
want to take, okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, more questions?
Well,
Oh.
no, I just want to say I appreciate the spirit in which you've brought this, and I really hope we take this up. I just feel like it's been talked about for years, and this is probably the biggest barrier to opportunity that young people face. I think that one Economic Policy Institute once said, you are 50% more likely to get married if you own a car. Because so much of your stability and your economic stability in the future relies on something like timely payments, the ability to keep a license, etc. We should not ignore how important driver's education is to the next generation's stability in our economy.
That is very interesting. And I would just say own a house and take the bus.
Well,
But
there are your ability to make
There are
timely
other
payments
options.
early in life and pull down a vehicle
I can see that.
says a lot about you.
Yes. Yes.
So, then let's take a walk through with Damien.
Yes.
You're welcome to stay at work.
Thank you.
Well,
Good afternoon.
well, afternoon.
A year or two since I've been in here. Different faces around the table since the last time I was in this committee. For the record, I'm Damian Leonard from the Office of Legislative Counsel. As Senator Harrison said, it's a pretty short and straightforward bill. On page 1, subdivision 2, what it allows is for the driver education and training course, which is the classroom portion, to be made available to students as either an in-person course or an asynchronous online course, which basically means it's an online course where the enrollees don't all have to be present online at the same time. So you can work at your own pace on your own schedule. So this could include things like videotaped lectures or lesson units that can be completed by the individual at a time of their choosing. Oftentimes these courses are time limited. So you have to say within 3 months complete a certain number of units, but you get to choose when you do it. And I don't know the specifics for online driver's ed courses. But that just gives you a sense of how an asynchronous online course might work. And I'm sure your witnesses can provide you with more input about the particular courses we're talking about here. On page 2, what we've got here are really the requirements for the course. So the first one is that any online course has to meet the content standards for driver's education curricula in the most recent edition of the Novice Teen Driver Education and Training Administrative Standards, which is sort of the standard curriculum for driver's education, as I understand it. Then the Agency of Education and the Department of Motor Vehicles, similar to the regular classroom course, would work together to approve online driver education and training courses. They would have to include a means to measure student outcomes. They would have to use a pool of rotating exam questions, so you can't post the exam answers on Reddit or something like that, and then give everyone in next year's course a leg up. They would have to incorporate accountability features that verify the identity of the student while the student is engaged in the course's study, so you can't have your friend or your sibling take the course for you. They have to measure the amount of time that the student spends in the course, provide technical support to customers, store course content and any student data on a secure server with adequate safeguards in place to protect against data breaches and data loss. And adequacy would be determined by the department and the agency in this case. And then they have to incorporate appropriate measures to prevent unauthorized access to private information. And it goes along with the data security. And they have to include the ability to update course content uniformly throughout the state. So if we change the laws here in Montpelier and there's something new that driver's ed courses need to teach, they have to be able to roll that out statewide. And that is if there's an effective date of July 1, 2026. That's the default effective date. Obviously, depending on your testimony and how you decide to move forward, that could change. Questions?
Yeah, go ahead. Just curious, 3 or 4 years ago, we were up and down the flagpole on driver's ed. And I just tried to do a search of that legislative session on driver's ed and came up with the big T bill. And it was, it's a big bill and I couldn't find, do you recall what the activity was in that biennium and what we might have accomplished?
I don't. I was in my prior role at the time. So I was covering labor and employment law instead of transportation law at the time.
Great. I usually don't see you too.
I got to spend a lot of time in Senator Ron Hinsdale's committee at the time. I can look into that though and find an answer for you, but I don't remember what the specifics were. There's a good chance that Beth may remember. I think she did work in the past with Anthea, my predecessor, on those issues.
It would be helpful just to know what we did, if it had an impact, because we'll be back with something.
If you want to ask me specific questions not regarding the bill, and I'm not testifying because I want to honor that, I can speak to what my testimony was before that bill and what that bill was attempting to do, but I would not want to step into this situation unless you have really specific questions and I'm not augmenting or taking advantage of the situation.
Remember, it was a White Mountain had a exportable package that we were looking at maybe.
So any questions for David?
Mine is Mark, who we should get in for witnesses.
Yeah, so I know Senator Harrison has suggested this person here. And
Somebody from the Agency of Education, because they're
yeah, and also AAA, you mentioned.
and VMB.
Yeah, so, and do you have, Senator Harrison, specific suggestions for those people are, as you put this together?
No,
Up to know.
but I have people who have other names.
Can I ask a question of maybe of the, so
So let's, so for the record, you are,
I am Joseph Barch. My current role now is I teach part-time at Mount Mansfield Union High School. I am the executive director for the Vermont Driver Traffic Safety Education Association. Last time I was here, I was president or past president of the American Driver Traffic Safety Education Association. Like I said, I'm here to listen, to observe, and answer specific questions by your guidance only, and not to try to stay away from testifying or giving my opinion.
okay,
You try.
I think you're the
you
person
can try.
I want to ask this question of. I have heard in the past that one of the barriers is we don't teach driver's education instruction anymore in the state, and you have to go to New Hampshire to take the training to become a driver's education instructor.
That is true, and that was something I was involved with a number of years ago, and it moved to Keene. And the bottom line is the cost of a 4-year college education, credits for a 4-year institution, were far more than what people were willing to do, and there was a time commitment. Keene went ahead, had their program, but that was undercut by a 2-year program in terms of cost. And White Mountain Community College took over that training for both states.
Okay. And so we simply do not have enough special education. I mean, sorry. It's not even Friday, it's Tuesday. We don't have enough driver's education instructors.
In the public schools, most of the, I don't have numbers. It's difficult to find out what's happening in New Hampshire. But I can tell you from experience that Chittenden County and along the Connecticut River, there are quite a few numbers growing of private or commercial driver educators.
And so what you're saying is that each school is still responsible for hiring a private trainer?
There is a ruling, and I'm not very specific, but they're allowing that to happen under the auspices of the school, but I don't know the technicalities of that and how that's working.
So there's no one requiring this. There's no one requiring that the lobbying.
Yes, or they're having difficulty filling those, so they're doing the best they can. Like I said, I don't know about those programs. I certainly can go back, and one of the things I do is research that and get more information.
So that'll be a question for the agency.
Yeah, I mean, even if we did the online portion, online,
Still hurt time drivers.
yeah, I still see, I mean, you need the hours in the field.
True.
So, yeah, I could see passing this, but not solving the problem.
So an interesting question for us to think about. I know you don't want to testify yet, but is what does this actually do for us because you still need the person to be in the car with the student. You can't do that online.
I hope not.
Yeah, we'll fix it.
That would be part of testimony, and I think I was wait on that to honor my promise.
Senator Harrison, did you have a thought on that? Or
I don't know, Jamie might know, but my understanding was that having the course, the classroom part online would free up time for the instructors, but I don't have any evidence of that.
any other questions? Okay, so how soon would you be able to testify?
Probably within a week to 10 days, to be honest. Certainly could do that. I know you have time constraints and a lot you need to do.
So mid to late next week.
Yes, I could.
Okay. So, if you could, before you go, come and make sure Daphne has your contact. That would be great. Can you think of anybody else we should have?
Yes, I do. I think you should invite some students. We have one driver educator who proposed throughout the bill to her class and had a lively debate on it. And I think she has a couple of young adults who could speak to what their viewpoints are. And I think that would be most enlightening, maybe more enlightening than we'd like,
Okay,
but that would be good.
and can you get us that contact information?
Yes, I will.
Okay, so just make sure you should Daphne connect before you go. If you do that, that'd be great. Okay, anything else? Anybody else? Okay, thanks.